Today's Monday motivation spawned from the 1 million downloads. So we've been celebrating this today. Me and Travis have been kind of working up to this and amped up for it to happen. But I shared the post on Instagram today, and it is like us hitting 1 million downloads, which is a huge milestone inside of podcasting, period. It's what a lot of podcasters strive to do. However, many podcasters have already done this. And that's not to discourage or push down my progress or take away from the value and the reward and the celebration. It's actually to encourage you guys that this is a really powerful lesson that you can get insight from. And that's where this Monday Motivation podcast is actually stemming from, is something I talked about this morning. This is like the 4-minute mile. Everybody knows the story of the 4-minute mile. It's a very famous story, right? It was impossible to run a 4-minute mile. And for some, it still is. There's no way in hell I could run a 4-minute mile. But the point is it was impossible to achieve. And then eventually somebody achieved it. I'm not even going to try to, I have a couple names in my head that I think the guy's name is, but I'm not going to say it. Most of you guys who listen probably know the guy's name. He ran the 4-minute mile. And then all of a sudden, athlete after athlete after athlete after athlete ran a 4-minute mile as well. So what happened to impossible? It became possible, but it only became possible because somebody else did it. Because we as human beings need proof of conception. We need proof of success in order to motivate us and to create certainty and confidence in ourselves to find that success, to reach that success, to take action on the things required to get to that level of success. See, I remember being in the garage of actually me and Travis's house. We lived with another guy named Aaron. And we would record this podcast on my old kitchen table that we stored inside of our garage in Renton, Washington. Me and Theo would do podcasts in there, and we would do Q&As and stuff like that. And that's how it started. And I remember us seeing people like Joe Rogan, people like Ben Greenfield, people like Mind Pump, people like Drama with Short Story Long, these people who they've already achieved 1 million downloads without a doubt. Shit, Joe Rogan probably gets 1 million a month. They have these elaborate studios. They have the best mics you could ask for. They can get any guest on their show like that, flying out to them on their dime because they want to be on that show. And I saw that. Instead of letting it discourage me, I let it motivate me, just like the 4-minute mile with many of those athletes. I saw that it was possible. I saw that you could create this thing that people would want to be a part of, people could learn from, people could create impact with, people would share, people would want to listen every single day on the way to their commute. That you could get a million ears listening to your podcast. That you could have a studio like the one I'm sitting in right now, technically. It's just wild to think about now that I'm here in it and it happened. But that's 3.5 years of consistency, which is lesson number 2. Nothing happens without consistency. So number 1, we have to find what's possible, right? We have to look at what we believe to be impossible, and this would translate to every area of your life. So whether you're talking about your body physically, your health, your mindset, your emotional well-being, your religious spirituality, your relationships, your family, your business, it doesn't matter. You have to find what is possible by seeking the growth that others have already achieved. And that creates that vision in your head of what you can do. And it gives you certainty. Because think about weight loss. We all start there thinking we're just not genetically gifted, right? We're just never going to chase that body. We're never going to reach that goal physique. We look at other people like, well, wouldn't it be nice? Well, once upon a time, that ripped individual that you see on Instagram was not ripped. They were either skinny or fat. They were weak and insecure. They were not emotionally confident. They were not physically confident. They weren't mentally confident. They weren't strong in the gym. They had no knowledge about what to do. But they didn't let what other people had achieved discourage them from achieving it themselves. What did they do? They let it motivate them, again, like the 4-minute mile. So lesson number 1 is simple, guys. What is your 4-minute mile? Anybody who is not driving right now, stop what you're doing, sit down, pull out your journal, pull out your notepad, pull out something that you can jot this down. What is your 4-minute mile? Where are you telling yourself that it is impossible, yet you know other people have already achieved it? What are you stopping yourself from doing because you think it's impossible, because you think you're not gifted, because you think your genetics suck, because you think you are not capable or you don't know enough? Where are you doing that to yourself? You are creating self-limited beliefs, which means that you are the only person stopping your results from happening. So that's the first part of this podcast. Where is your 4-minute mile? The second part of this is consistency. It's not sexy. It's not a cool strategy. It's not an advanced method or tactic. It's not something I can wrap up with a bow and sell to you. It's not a product. It's just reality. And it's the reality that a lot of people don't want to face. 3.5 years of recording every single week. 1 episode a week, then 2 episodes a week, then 3 episodes a week, then 4 episodes a week. Shit, who knows? Maybe we'll get to 5 episodes eventually. But it's consistency. I mean, we can sit back and remember the exact mics we were recording on. I was wearing these old dirty Dre Beats. They were white ones, and they were filthy dirty with a blue snowball mic. Sometimes we would have to share a blue snowball mic, which is does not sound good. And you have to get real close to your co-host, which is not fun. But we would do whatever we could to just create value. And we didn't care about the level we were at. We cared about the level we could reach. So we got consistent over time. I remember filming on flip cams and camcorders and shit that just horrible video quality, but we didn't care. We just needed to get information out. We needed to practice. We need repetitions. Everything in life comes down to repetitions. If we want to win the game of life, we need consistency. If you want to fix your marriage or your relationship with your son or daughter or your brother or your parents or anything like that, sending them a text saying I love you, sending them a gift one time doesn't do shit. Might make them feel good, might make you feel good temporarily, but it isn't until you accumulate repetitions of giving and giving and giving and giving that you finally see the result and you actually win. Love in general is actually a really good example about this. I heard a quote that said, love is not an adjective, it is a verb. You cannot have without giving. And think about that. You want to be in love, you want to experience passionate love in your relationship, you actually have to give love constantly. You have to love as a verb, as an action, constantly to receive it back or to feel it. So if you don't feel love, it's probably because you're not giving it. It's probably not you're probably not acting on that love. I'm not a relationship specialist, but it was a really good quote, and it's powerful because it resonates with this whole message of consistency. We all know if you prep one time, it isn't going to do shit. We all know if you train one time, it's not going to do shit. One day of cardio isn't going to do shit. One day of mobility is not going to do shit. One good night's sleep is not going to do shit. It's the repetition and accumulation of these little waves over time that leads to tsunamis of success. That's a quote from Robin Sharma, great author of a lot of great books. But the point being here is simple. You cannot have any result in life without consistency. So my second question for today for you is, where are you lacking consistency? And where do you know that that's your limiting belief? That's your limiting factor. That's your bottleneck. That's your roadblock. That's the thing that is stopping you from getting to your result because you cannot be consistent. I talked about this in a previous podcast. Once you identify what you are inconsistent with, it opens the door for success because there's this 4-step process, right? Awareness, which is us becoming aware of what we're not consistent with or what we're not doing well enough. Then is acceptance. We have to accept that we suck at it. We have to accept that it's not good. We have to accept that we're not being consistent. We have to admit, like literally admit publicly that we are not doing as well as we could. We're not giving 100%. We're not doing our all. We're not giving our all. We have to admit and accept that. Then we have to take action on changing it. Without action, nothing happens. And if you can do these 3 things, you accelerate, which is the 4 A's. And I truly believe if you look at any situation in your life and you approach it from an awareness, acceptance, action, accelerate perspective, it just streamlines your success because it makes it very clear. There's a clear path on how to get there. So to wrap up this podcast, guys, today's Monday motivation is to celebrate the 1 million downloads. First and foremost, thank you so much for listening to this podcast because you're helping me reach people all over the world. And I want you to realize how big of an impact it is because the more of you that listen, the bigger our reach goes. So just you clicking download allows our reach to grow, allows us to be more noticeable in iTunes, on Stitcher, on Spotify, on all these different platforms. It allows more people to see what we are doing. And if we can allow more people to see what we're doing, we can help more people. People around the world are getting better results and having more motivation because of this podcast, which is so humbling and so cool, and I'm so grateful for it. But it's because of you. So please keep listening. Stay subscribed. Get your friends to subscribe. Keep sharing the podcast. I appreciate it more than I can express. And you deserve a lot of kudos for helping me do this because you have a bigger role than you realize. The second thing is the 2 lessons. What is your 4-minute mile? If you listen this far and you haven't journaled this, like take this seriously. Sit down, put the headphones away, and journal. What is your 4-minute mile? And then last but not least, where are you lacking consistency? Because consistency is the key. It's the foundational key to success, which is another quote by Pablo Picasso. I'm full of quotes today. Consistency is the foundational key to success in all areas of life. So if you want to win this game of life, if you want to excel in different areas of your life, you need to find consistency.